Hi everyone, my name's Mike and welcome to the video. Well, this video it's taken us about 18 months to put together. We first got invited to ride these incredible bikes by our friend Phil 18 months ago, and it's taken us, for whatever reason I won't go into, till now before we've finally got to have a go. But what a day. The three of us all agree, me, Dave and Rich, that this is probably one of the best days motorcycling that we've had for years. It was just an incredible day. Amazing machines, ranging from 1924 to 1929, and they're all hand gear change. Two of them don't even have twist grip throttles, they've got lever throttles, so they're a challenge to ride, and you'll see, I won't go into detail now about them, it's all in the video as you'll see. But fantastic experience, and something that not many of us get a chance to do. But what I'd really like to do is to thank everyone involved in the day. Camaraderie was just lovely, just such a nice bunch of people. We were welcomed by Bill's family, because we were at their location riding these bikes, and they were so hospitable, put food on for us and everything, so massive thanks to them. And thanks to all the guys with the bikes. It was just just a fantastic day, and I think we all agree. The other thing is, this is quite a long video, so I'm going to stop yattering on now, because you don't want to hear me talking when there's those bikes to see. It is a long video, and I do apologise for that, but I don't really at the same time, because this is purely self-indulgent. This is a record for us, and you know, we're more than happy to share it with everyone, but I'm not going to make this within 30 minutes or whatever. I'm just going to let it go, because it's worth seeing. It really is, and it's just such a great record. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you so much to Phil and to Bill and his family for the day. It truly was magnificent. So with that, on with the show.
Hello, my name's Phil Wilson, and this is Margot, that's her pet name, and she's a Model 8 Sunbeam, or potentially Model 880. Built in 1929. She's, I suppose, our go-to bike. It's the one that we ride the most out of the vintage bikes we've got. It's a 350 overhead valve, hand change, and it's got advanced retard on the handlebars, of course, mixture control, etc. Once you get used to riding these bikes, they're really, really usable. And this will cruise on at 45, 50 miles an hour. I clocked it at 62 the other day in a little burst of speed. I've also got it airborne twice on Sunday, taking part in a trial. So it is very, very, very reliable. The other thing is, I found, is that the quality of the steel they used must have been something else, because the state of the roads today, and I inadvertently rode into a pothole that came from underneath a car, and she came through shuddering holes and then bounced back out again and carried on like nothing had happened. The bike survived quite well, but the rider was a bit like shook up, to say the least. And she came from effectively a man cave. We bought her out of a man cave in Wolverhampton, and questions have been asked in the house, shall we say, about why this bike goes so fast. The club chairman had asked me, have you tuned it up? Have you done things to it? And I said, well, no, it's just how it is, and this is how I ride it. Anyway, further investigations in a big folder that we got that came with the bike, I never really looked at, just like the bike. She was found dismantled in a woodshed in Southport, and she'd been there since 1952. This was in 1985. And the guy got hold of her and rebuilt her. And when I looked further, there was 2 sheets of actual typed Remember the good old days of the typewriter and the telex for that. And actually, he'd reground the cams, he'd reprofiled them. It had got a higher compression piston, etc. Anyway, we found some other stuff that said it was the finest, listed as the finest 350 in the Sunbeam Club in the early 1990s. So she does go like a rat up a drain pipe. The other thing is, it's surprising how well it handles. It actually does handle. You can throw it around, and although we got just a block tyre and a rib on the front, it's very light and handleable. The main thing is you just got to look for all the holes and make sure you stand up before you hit the button. And so there she is, the mighty Margot.
Hello, my name's Bill Morris, and this is my dad's HRD TT. It was first registered in 1926. He and Mum were saving up to get married. About 1930 it was when he landed a really good job at the Audley Works, about 15 miles away, and that justified getting some motorised transport. So he was allowed to go and use some of his wedding savings to buy a motorbike. Mum approved. She didn't approve that he went out and bought a racing bike. Howard Davis was a works rider for various companies in the early 1920s, including AJS. He'd flown for the Royal Flying Corps in the First World War. He was shot down a couple of times and became a prisoner of war. He missed out on a couple of important races due to unreliable engines, and he thought he could do better. So in 1924, he designed a bike to be superb at road holding. He used a proprietary Jap racing engine, Druid forks, Webb wheels and brakes. He was so successful that he won the senior TT in 1925 at his first attempt on his own bike. He also came second in the junior TT on a bike that was virtually the same as this. Yeah. He used the bike throughout the 1930s. In fact, he wore it out. He didn't have any facilities for maintaining it or anything like that. Then the Second World War came along. There was no petrol, and so the bike was put away underneath a sheet of galvanised iron to sit out the war. It became a rusty wreck. He gave it to me in about 1960 when I acquired a house and a garage. I couldn't do any restoration on it. I had a young family, so I stripped the engine down, smeared it with grease, wrapped it in oil rags and nailed it into a wooden box, and that wooden box was kept in the driest place in the house for the next 40 years. When I retired in about 2000, I started to restore it. Well, I started and my elder brother helped an awful lot as well. It was a great project. It took us about 15 years. And we had the first ride on it in about 2015. It has done the last two boundary runs. I rode it a couple of years ago, and my nephew James rode it this year. It's a fabulous bike to ride.
Hello, this is my other bike. This is Ethel, who is a Model 2 Norton from 1924. She's the oldest bike here today, and she's also a good example of how things developed over the years. It's a 500 single, side valve engine, hand change, and if you look, you might be able to see the lovely running boards there, cast running boards. This was a gentleman's sort of touring motorcycle, but it was aimed at people like lawyers, doctors. You know, they could afford it. This wasn't for your ordinary working man in a cloth cap, so I wouldn't have been able to buy it when I was around in the day. Anyway, the tank is split into two parts. You've got two caps here. That one's oil, that one's petrol. And the actual oiling system on the engine, this isn't for the forgetful amongst you. You have to operate a plunger here and also operate a drip feed like on a steam engine. So about every 6 or 7 miles we have to remember to push the plunger down to oil the engine, otherwise it's a case of rip, you've seized it up. As I say, this is a Model 2. The engine is well capable, it's a 500 side valve and it's well capable of outperforming every other part of the motorbike, including the rider. Because the front brake is, shall we say, a very, very small expanding front brake, which is, I think it was Norton's idea of what they thought a brake might look like in the future, you know. If you look at the back here, you can see it's actually a dummy rim, and when you push the pedal, there's a block of rubber jams in the dummy rim. And if you closer inspection would reveal I've burnt the paint on that brake and on that brake in an attempt to sort of like slow down. This is, when the days of the horse-ish carriage was about, it was probably quite adequate. It doesn't have a twist grip. The Sunbeam and the like had a twist grip. This is just a solid rubber bar, and we actually use a lever throttle, and you adjust the mixture as well. You adjust the ignition timing with that lever there. We've also got a very, very expensive add-on, which is a speedometer. Okay, and it does work. It's reasonably accurate. But the fact is that the bike was, I think it was about £65 new. But if you wanted the Speedo, that was nearly another 35 quid. And to put it into context, I mean, I think it was about, somebody would earn about like £500 or £600 a year. This is a very expensive piece of kit. But great fun to ride. The best way I describe it is, imagine you're in a biplane and it's been shot by Baron von Richthofen and you're trying to land it before it all falls apart. That's what it's like. Acetylene lighting, carbide. And the other interesting little thing, this little leather canister here, we found this in an antique shop with the original tin, and it's actually from the Chemico carbide company. You put the carbide into the generator, it drips water, makes acetylene gas. We actually got the canister and the tin. Chemico, if any motorcycling engineers out there will remember Chemico grinding paste. They went on to make grinding paste when the carbide world went by the by, and now they make pink stuff bathroom cleaner. The company's still going after 100 years. So that's the basis of Ethel, and next thing, go take a bit of ride.
God, had a fair clip on that. Okay, so a bit of a confession. It's Mike talking. We should have had James, who owns this magnificent Scott, but something happened with the recording, so I'm just going to put some pictures up of the bike, and James very kindly supplied some information that I'm going to read out. So yes, James, who owns the bike, who's Bill's nephew, and Bill is the gentleman with the HRD. So I've only had the bike for 4 months, and this is the first vintage bike I've owned, with everything else being from 1980s onwards. I rode the HRD at this year's Banbury Run, that's his grandfather's bike, and I decided I needed an eligible bike of my own so we could all ride together next year. My choice of bike was by aesthetics and costs, with costs excluding some of the other bikes I like the appearance of, e.g. Norton CS1s, etc. Although I keep my more modern bikes standard and spotless, I wanted something which had a nice patina that showed the wear from 9 decades of use. One of my other bikes is a 2-stroke, so I had no issues with selecting an oil burner. I love the look of the bike and don't plan on tidying it up. However, I'm sure there'll be need to maintain some of the oily bits and to make a few mechanical improvements. And I wholeheartedly agree with James there that the bike is so authentic. It's lovely. So the bike details, it's registration TN 9470, and it's a Scott Flying Squirrel touring model, 500cc, made in Shipley in Yorkshire. So it's a twin parallel cylinder water-cooled 2-stroke, 3-speed hand change, matching factory numbers, e.g. engine, frame and gearbox, dispatched by Percy Motor Company, Newcastle upon Tyne, 22nd of February 1929, and the registration includes a V5 and the original Boff logbook. So as I said, magnificent bike, and we're going to have a ride of it later on. Thank you, James.
Already on.
Yes.
Okay. You don't need to tickle it because it's already had a go. Gears, we've got neutral there, down for first.
Yes.
Okay. And when it's rolling, you come up into the gate there for second.
Yeah.
And then that's top gear.
Yep.
Okay.
Is the throttle on this a throttle?
It's an ordinary twist grip.
Yes.
Which is what they call a strike pull. So it's like a spiral in there.
Yeah.
You now have a front brake, which it hasn't had before.
Okay. And
so that front brake, okay, and then you've got that's your clutch.
Yeah.
Okay. That is the compressor.
All right.
Right. Okay. And your foot brake is on the front of the engine here.
And do you use the foot brake?
Yeah, I use both of them.
Yeah.
I did, you know, in all seriousness, I did get this airborne choice on Saturday. Sunday.
Yeah.
You know, hitting a bump and then the back end comes up.
Yep.
So as far as starting it goes,
twist grip.
Yeah.
It was like saddle tanks only came in after the flat tanks in the 20s, and then twist grips came in the 20s, then proper back brakes came in the 20s. You know, a lot of advancements.
29.
So that's
really,
slightly later.
The other thing with this is you've got an oil pump.
Oh yeah.
It's automatic.
So you don't have to worry.
For a few years there were advances.
Oh yeah.
Made it a bit easier.
Have you seen that the prop stand?
Yes.
It's a copy of a World War I prop stand.
Oh yeah, I remember you talking about it.
And so just do that when you pull away.
Yeah.
If you've left it down. But basically it's a case of get it onto compression. Like that, so that's on compression.
Decompressor.
Pull that in, just go over
TDC.
That's on there. Tiny bit of throttle if you need it.
So this is a bit easier, Mike.
Yeah.
Right, and then advance. Just pull it back. When you go round the lane, right, just leave it on full advance.
Okay.
If you want to pretend it's a concrete mixer,
so that's retarded it now.
Oh yeah. That's a canal boat engine. Yeah.
Bollinger.
Yeah.
Okay, your instructions aren't on here.
Okay.
It's a Banbury, is it?
No, this was this was the Levy's Cup trial last Sunday. Yeah.
All right, I'll call you from St Ives.
Okay. Put it this way. I would happily jump on this and ride to Edinburgh now.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, I wouldn't have any hesitation about that.
And there's no manual oiling on this. And this is an automatic.
Oh, well, that's what I was going to say. It's a shame I haven't got the VSA here because we've got all. If you want to stop it,
Yeah.
just pull that. So basically,
Brake.
if you
brake,
what was I going to say now? I've forgotten.
Oiler.
Oiler, yeah, right. So the HRD,
Yeah,
that's got a pilgrim pump
and a foot pump.
and a foot pump,
Yeah.
and it's total loss.
Yes,
The Norton has only got that plunger pump on the tank,
yes.
right, and it's total loss. The BSA has got a pump that pumps it out, but it all comes back by gravity.
All right.
And there's a little bloke with a bucket in the bottom of the sump that bails
Yeah.
it back, you see. And then the Sunbeam is literally fully automatic.
Yeah.
But you've got 3 settings on it. We're on sort of day-to-day ride to work.
Yeah.
That's sort of economy, and that's flat race.
All right. So that's, I don't have to worry about that.
No.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, if you want to give this a breeze, get on with it.
Yeah.
You know.
All right.
Okay. So off you go.
So
I'd imagine with a twist grip it feels less alien.
Right. What you might find easier is you take the stand up first, so you don't.
Just flick that lever.
That's it. Right, so first thing first, onto compression. Right,
yeah.
oh, you're not in gear, not,
No.
no. Right, you're on compression, right. So, just tiny bit over, and
Yeah.
let it come back up.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. The mighty Margot.
That's the clutch.
Yeah. And then the thing to remember is take your time.
Yeah.
It'll hang on in a gear.
Yeah.
You
So off we go. This is very alien. I just can't get it out of my head that there's a gear change on the side of the tank. There's hardly any brakes, and it just feels very, very strange. But it's a motorbike. It's got a clutch on the left hand side, and I'm just not worrying about the brakes, and just give it a go. This is great. Let's take it out on the road. Brain working overtime. Go. Oh, missed a gear into neutral. Oh, crunch. Second. Oh, can calm down a bit now. It's about now I start enjoying it. Maybe I should have turned right instead of left. Oh, there you go. Honk the horn. We're still in second, and it actually feels good. Put it into top, and it starts to lope along, and it feels great. By now I'm just up the road a bit, and I'm starting to feel a bit more comfortable on it. So it's a good job this has got the twist grip and everything, so I can keep it revving. I'll put it into first, so hopefully I make a better job of the gears this time. Oh no, I haven't put it into first. Crunch into first. Sorry Phil. Here we go. Oh, that was almost a racing gear change, that one. So once you get used to them, they're actually, they feel great. They're such good fun to ride. And then you meet something like this, and you're going, oh, but no drama. I think no. So I think this is the end of the ride here. So actually I'd got the hang of it, and I'd got quite comfortable with this one. This is the Sunbeam, so I'm You know, it's the easiest one of the lot to ride apart from Scott, and yeah, fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So this is more of a challenge. We've now got a hand throttle, and it's a lot more finicky. It's more of a thoroughbred to ride this, because you've got to remember this is a TT bike, so it's got a more peaky or less. Yeah, the engine is got a harder edge on it than the Sunbeam, because it's a racing bike, and you can hear you've got to try and juggle the throttle with the advance and retard on this, so your mind's going overtime, and you're trying to remember there's no brakes, and then you're meeting hay wagons on the road. So yes, it takes all of your attention. But the amazing thing with this is a racing bike. You know, it's, you know, as I say later on, you know, this thing lapped the TT in 60 something miles an hour, and it's taking all of my mental bandwidth at whatever speed. So see, we're turning around now, and because it's on the hand throttle, I'm having to keep it revving, and it's just, I've got Richard there on the Scott, I've got this car here, and it's just very complicated to get your head round, but excellent. And once you get it going, you know, you get gearbox is lovely, you can change gear, great. And again, we don't have it up to any sort of speed, but yeah, we're heading back again here. I feel so bad looking at these pictures, these beautiful bikes, and we took them through all this mud. But no, that was a challenge, but it was very enjoyable to ride, and a real honour to ride this HRD. When you think, you know, the history of it, very, very nice, but very different to the Sunbeam, and a real challenge.
Okay, so this one, that's the clutch.
Yeah, that's it, bud. Right, now, with this, bear in mind, you really have got no brakes.
Yeah.
Right. You can pull on that.
Yeah.
Things may or may not happen.
Yes.
Okay. And there's pressure on that as well to do something.
Okay.
So really, I'll just leave that where it is.
Alright, I'll ride this one slow.
No, you get it into top up there.
Yeah.
It'll puddle along.
Yeah.
Or if you open it up, it'll...
Yeah, okay. Alright.
Okay.
So this just rolls off the stand?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, well, you started.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So this is a decompressor?
That's it. So let me know that first. That's it again. So that's it. Now pull that tiny bit over. Bring that to the top. Now stop it. There you go.
See, I went for the twist grip then.
And then just ready forward. Off you go.
Right. So that's the clutch.
Yeah. Okay.
Lovely.
So I must admit, I've got a bit of trepidation riding this one, because I think this has got 7 levers on the handlebars to control. So here we go, and it's got a very finicky throttle, as I prove here. So change gear. Oh, stalled it. Quickly, bump it. Phew, got it going again. As I was thinking, if I don't get this going again, I'm going to have to start the whole route we've seen again. But I've twigged that you've got to keep a little bit of throttle on at all times with this, because if you let it shock too much, it's just going to die on you. So I think we're in top gear now. And as Phil said, it just poddles along beautifully. Honk honk. So yeah, really this could be 1925 on these lanes. This is the authentic experience. Oh dear, now I've got to turn this round without stalling it. Right, into neutral. No, into first. Don't drop it, Mike. Keep the throttle going. Clutch. And we're moving again. But what an incredible experience this is. You know, I'm pointing out how difficult it is, but it also is just, it feels incredible to be on something this, you know, 1924, this bike is 100 years old, and it feels like a motorbike. It may be alien because of the way the throttle works and it hasn't got much brakes, but at the end of the day, it rides like a motorbike. And you could ride your brand new GS 1200, you get onto this, it's still a motorbike, and it was just fantastic to ride. So oh, and I'll stall it again. Phew.
Whoa. Very different, isn't
That's
it?
very different, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this is more like it. I've ridden the other three. I've got the handle on the gear change. It sounds like a TZ Yamaha. I've had lots of two-strokes. I'm starting to feel a bit at home here. Listen to this. We could be in 1975 on your HRD 250. Started to four-stroke a little bit, and that's the only thing that I found that I could fault on this bike. And it wasn't even a fault, it's just on a steady throttle, which you shouldn't be really. But I love this thing. Look at it. It's a real hooligan, this bike. And again, this is nearly 100 years old, this bike. Rides like a modern bike, apart from this bit. Oh, messed that up. Plenty of power. It's by far the most powerful of all four bikes, and very easy to ride. Out of all the bikes, I think this is the bike that I'd like to take home with me, even though it does do 20 to the gallon. But what an incredible experience, and it handled well. The other bikes I wasn't really going fast enough to comment on the handling, but this, it's a rigid rear end, sprung saddle, but it coped with the bends really, really well. Yep. Thanks, James. Really enjoyed this. Okay, so it's now a week since we rode the bikes.
Yeah, exactly a week, I think.
And we've had a chance to mentally unpack it a bit. So we've met at the beautiful pub, the Boat in Herbistock, which is kind of halfway between where we live, and we're just going to have a bit of a chat about the bikes. So I'll start off. What was your overall opinion of the day?
It was absolutely fantastic. It was the most fun motorcycling wise I've had for years.
I think I agree with that. Yeah.
It was a memorable, lovely, lovely day.
Yeah, it took me by surprise actually.
And me.
Yeah, it was what I think we said at the time, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know if it was, but it was right up there. It was right up there in terms of being memorable. Partly because it's just so different.
It's so different, and there was lovely guys, the camaraderie,
Absolutely.
and it was just a beautiful location.
Yeah,
And everyone was so hospitable.
Yeah.
It was great. It was,
yeah.
and those bikes. So anyway, so let's take them a bike at a time, and let's start off with the Sunbeam, because we all rode the Sunbeam first. I think.
Sunbeam. I mean, I rode the Sunbeam for a few miles because we did the ride-bys later on. So I did a few miles on it on the main road. Well,
Yeah,
it's not a main road. It's
A
but
road.
not on the back lane.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. And actually, I think somebody said during the day, I think it was Phil, said I would happily ride this to Edinburgh tomorrow.
Yeah, I've got it on film. Yeah.
Whilst by modern standards it's not fast, I mean Phil says he can cruise along at 50 on it.
Yeah.
I think he said.
And I think I don't think I took any of the bikes about 45.
He's had it at 70,
70, yeah.
on a track day.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it gave confidence, and it was so relaxed, and it had a conventional throttle, and it did, it had an automatic oil pump, so it was a bit more conventional and not quite as challenging. And I absolutely
It was lovely,
loved
wasn't it?
I loved it.
Once
It
you
was
got
real
it,
quality.
You got it into top, and I think what was it? I think you said it canted or it loped.
Yeah, all of the bikes to greater or lesser extents. Maybe not so much the Scott, which is a bit. We'll come on to the Scott.
Yeah.
But all the others are 4-strokes. When you got them into top, and the advance was full advance, they cantered along.
Yeah.
And I got the feeling it must have been like in the early days of acquiring one of these, mechanical horse.
Yeah. Well,
Suddenly you're trotting along and you're going quicker than you've probably ever been on a horse. Certainly when you get to 40 mile an hour, you are.
Yeah.
And we both got the Sunbeam up to 40 something.
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
up to about 45 of them.
And being on those lanes, it was like being back in 1925.
Yeah, it was. They hadn't changed, had they?
Hadn't
really?
changed, and I felt, I was riding along in top gear, pop, 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 pop,
Yeah.
looking around, thinking, this is authentic.
Yeah.
This is an authentic experience.
Yeah, wouldn't have changed.
Fantastic.
Not just authentic, but really pleasant.
Yeah,
it was fun.
It was great.
Just chuffing along. It sounded lovely.
Yeah.
It puts you in a more relaxed frame of mind. It was great. And actually, the one thing that we were all told we were going to be challenged with, Phil really impressed it on us, was lack of braking.
Yeah.
But actually, I've got a few bikes, mainly 70s.
Yeah.
And I'm used to riding old bikes in traffic. As long as you anticipate and there's good engine braking,
Yes.
I didn't find it a problem.
A couple of things that I discovered riding the Sunbeam. Like I was riding along because it had a twist grip, and I went to do the 2-finger on the brake, and I was like, "Oh, that's not going to work, is it, Mike?" But the other thing I discovered with the engine braking is what you have to do is you change down. Got to get your hand back on the handlebar.
Oh, yes.
Because I changed down, let the clutch out before I got my hand down. I was whoa.
Yes.
You really got to get your head into a different place.
I think, when we talk about the two earlier bikes,
let's move on to.
Yeah.
So the Norton. What
So
do you
the
think?
Norton, as I said, I'd ridden the Norton before very, very briefly, and it was like a baptism of fire,
Yeah.
which it was for you two when you get, and so that helped a little bit. But you're confronted with, a lever for the throttle is
Yeah.
the hardest thing. The twist grip is such a,
Yes.
it's such a comforting thing when because
Yeah.
you've got muscle memory and. You've got a free hand because.
Yeah.
But
Well,
when you've got a lever, oh my god!
Well, I found with one of the bikes, I don't know if it was the Norton or the HRD, if you put your hand round and had it there,
Yeah.
you could actually
Okay.
have like a pretend throttle.
Yeah, was what Phil told me was to ride with the heel of your hand on the grip,
on the grip, yeah.
and then you've got more control like that. So I was doing that. But either way, it's so alien, isn't it?
And then you've got to. Was it the mixture lever or the?
It's so you've got the throttle is effectively controlling the air.
Yeah.
And the other one controls it's effectively a choke.
Yeah.
And you don't have to faff with those too much once you get going, do you? But
no.
I think on the HRD,
I have to apologise for the light coming on. It's beyond our control.
And of course, with the Norton, I think it had the advanced retard, the manual oiler, throttle lever. So it was like another generation.
It's like going like that.
Yes.
There were 7 levers on the handlebar on, I think, the HRD. It might have been the Norton. And they were the other way round on the HRD.
Did you hear what Phil said?
No.
In the interview that I did with him, which you've probably seen by now, he said that riding it is like it's like flying a Sopwith camel after you've been attacked by Baron von Richthofen and you're trying to get home. It's a thoroughbred.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the HRD.
So I set off going round the yard, and I was like, oh, okay, I've got the hang of this, I think. And I thought, I really want to take it on the lane, because at least you're going in a straight line, and you can get familiarised, and you can get your learning curve going. And then I touched the advanced lever, and it just shot off. It just shot off, and God knows why I touched that. And I was like, brakes, anything. And I thought, don't drop it in the farm. Don't drop a whatever £1,000.
Was that when you came round the corner? Yeah. I was actually watching. I saw you do that.
So once I got on the lane, it was all right, but I never fully relaxed on the HRD.
No, I didn't, and I never quite got the combination of the advance and retard and the throttle right.
No, I didn't.
It needs a bit more. And the thing that amazed me is I did a bit of research afterwards, and that bike, or the sister bike to that one, because that's a replica of the bike that actually, in the 1927 TT, Freddie Frith, who was famous for the sidecars, the banking sidecars. Or was that Freddie Dixon? Anyway, no, it was Freddie Dixon.
Okay. I was going to say, I didn't think
not Freddie
Frith.
Frith. Freddie Dixon. He lapped that same bike at 67 mile an hour average. So to do that, he must have been doing 90 plus miles an hour
over the mountain and stuff.
On the mountain.
Yeah.
How I was.
And in those days, it was gravel roads. And,
I was
no brakes.
I was sharting myself at 40 miles an hour.
Yeah. Unbelievable. And all of those bikes, to greater or lesser extents, were tempered in the cauldron that is the TT.
Yes.
That's what the TT was about, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that segues nicely into the Scott, doesn't it? Because it's very different to the other.
Well, if you don't mind me jumping in, I just want to say what an honour it was for us to be on that HRD, given the history, and Bill and James is
they spent years rebuilding
dad and his grandfather,
and trusting us with them, which is why I was kind of quite scared of the HRD, and because I don't really care about Phil's bikes.
And the thing is, looking at that HRD, the quality, you could tell it was sort of hand built, low numbers, the quality of everything, the attention to detail,
and then,
it was unbelievable.
And then when I was doing the editing, I was looking at that muddy lane that we rode it up. I felt so bad.
But as Phil says, they're for riding ultimately.
Yes,
and and it was.
So the Scott.
I loved it. Talk about the Scott.
I loved it because I got a 2-stroke background. I used to roar around on RD350s and all that sort of thing. I got on the Scott and instantly felt at home because it is a ball terror of a thing.
That engine is unbelievable.
Yeah. It's
for a 100-year-old bike. It felt quite modern.
Yeah, it is 1926.
Yeah.
And I took off up the lane, and it felt like a 1970s RD.
Yes.
And it had the same sound.
Also, when you looked at the aesthetics of it, it had a different shaped tank. I mean, that era, they'd only just gone from onto saddle tanks, from flat tanks.
Yes.
That was one of the changes, that happened in that era. And you look at the Scott, and it looked like, oh my God, it's got it's got a trellis frame almost, and a tank, all triangulated and lightweight, and totally removed from the bicycle, beginnings of the Norton and the HRD in particular. They look like, to an extent, beautiful, but bicycles with engines.
Yeah,
put
they
them
do,
on.
especially
Whereas
the
the
Norton.
Scott didn't at all, and it rode in a similar vein. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I got off the Sunbeam going, I could happily ride that to Shrewsbury back. It was about a 40-mile round trip. After my first ride, and we all echo that sentiment. And the Scott could have gone anywhere on it.
But
Got your
the
knee down.
only thing is where progress has been made, because I agree it rode so well, you just thought, God, this doesn't feel like a 100-year-old bike. But where two-stroke technology has moved on is with all the exhaust technology,
Oh,
the
yes.
scavenging,
Yeah.
because James said
20 to the gallon.
20 odd to the
Yeah.
gallon.
Yeah.
So it's like the fuel has just been sucked through.
And you
it.
and you could tell there was one point I was in second gear just after I took off, and I was just kind of, I didn't want to put into top because of the, you know, I didn't know the road, and I kind of held it on a steady throttle and it started four-stroking.
Okay.
You know, that kind of
Yeah.
But it didn't foul a plug or anything.
No, and then as soon
consumer
as you
pottering
as soon
around.
as you hit the throttle, it was off like a
Yeah.
And the other thing I was surprised with the Scott, because you hear horror stories about them and smoke everywhere and
It didn't
oily,
smoke.
but
Brilliant.
it didn't. No, it was absolutely superb.
But you know, you still had the hand gear change. You know,
Yeah.
you still had. I think the Scott's still got a sprung saddle.
yes, it
Like,
has.
yeah,
It's got
you
a
know.
lyset.
Still had slightly marginal brakes without
Yeah.
the engine braking,
Yeah.
although it actually the engine braking
Yeah,
was quite
And it
good.
was talky, wasn't it? It was
Yeah.
very
very
talky.
talky.
And it sounds superb.
Yeah,
Your
it did.
video,
Yowling,
hopefully.
the yowling squirrel.
Yes,
you know.
yeah.
But yeah, it was an amazing
the
bike. It was
tearing
a
calico.
tearing
Yes.
calico.
I
They did
used
say
to-
yowling as well.
I had that Ixion of motorcycling. Did you have that?
No.
It was, or Ixion was.
Ixion was one of the journalists.
Yeah, it was the journalist, and
yeah.
he did Cavalcade of Motorcycling.
Okay.
It was an orange book that I had as a kid, and I was fascinated with the Scott in there. So I must have been a two-stroke
Yeah.
Yeah,
From
it
an
was in
early-
your veins.
in my veins, and I finally got to ride one after
Yeah.
all these years.
Yes,
Yeah.
probably.
I'm with James though.
Yeah, give it some. Give it some. Yeah. No, it was a remarkable day,
Yeah,
remarkable
wonderful.
machines, remarkable people. Yeah.
Yeah.
just
And
ticked all the
it's
boxes.
highlighted. It would be so sad if they're not ridden and they end up in
know.
museums.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we've got to
So-
buy them and ride them.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyone out there, and there's a journalist, Rick Parkington, who writes for Classic Bike, and
Yes.
he's into his, 1920s, 30s bikes, and he says once you're into classic bikes, you've already forgone all the modern accoutrements. You've already forgone functionality
Yeah.
over character. So how far do you want to go?
Yeah.
And that's a plug for the VMCC, North
Yeah.
Birmingham VMCC in particular, that Phil wanted to plug,
Yeah.
because he's, very much part of that.
And the Herefordshire one is
Yeah,
superb.
Hereford one's good.
Yeah.
So, remarkable day, great bikes, great.
If you get the chance to ride one, anybody out there,
Yeah.
don't be scared of it.
just do
give
it,
it a
just
go.
do it, because it
Give
is
it a go.
such an eye-opener, it's such a lovely experience. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you very much. I apologise that this video is longer than normal, but it's totally self-indulgent for us. We've done
Very-
this video for us,
Yeah.
and as we do all of them really. But if this video goes for an hour, I don't care.
And
I just
it's-
want it as a record.
It's the opposite end of the spectrum to the Kawasaki Hybrid.
Isn't it just?
100 years apart, the two technologies, but I asked the question, progress?
Yep, sublime to the ridiculous. What
Yeah.
do I enjoy? I tell you what,
I
I'd ride
enjoyed the
anyone-
20s bikes more than...
I did. I did. I
You
mean,
haven't ridden a hybrid.
No, 'cause I'm not
there you go.
interested.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm not against
Stick in the mud.
technology, you know,
Anyway,
I'm not a Luddite.
anyway,
Not much.
cheers. Thanks for
Cheers.
watching.
keep the shiny side up.
See you next time.
There you go. Whoop, took off.
I was going to bring it up to compression. You were going to do the lever. That's
Oh,
it. Is that too far?
right to the top.
Yeah.
Right up.
That is.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, you can feel the resistance.
Yeah.
Over compression again.
Yeah.